Three, 2, 1. We are live for a new episode of the Electrek Podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Whoop. As usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintraub. How are you doing today, Seth?
Good. I'm not just waking up like you are in Japan. So,
Yes, we have a weird schedule this week. Seth was all over Europe and just came back just in time for the podcast in New York. But for me, I'm still in Tokyo right now. So I'm ahead of you. I'm a time traveler. It's already Saturday morning for me, 5 a.m. But I'm feeling pretty good. I think we're gonna have a good show, regardless of me being dead asleep 10 minutes ago. And we have plenty to talk about, including why I'm here in Japan. Partly why I'm here in Japan, because there's a lot of things that fortunately cannot talk about. But what I can talk about, I will. Don't worry about that. But let's start with some a little bit of Tesla news, as we all usually do. Starting with a rare new color for Tesla. The Model S and X is getting a new stealth gray, so it's very stealthy. So you might not be able to recognize the vehicle in the picture right now on your screen if you're on the YouTube version of the podcast. But this is a new stealth gray. I'm kidding, because it's actually pretty obvious and pretty similar to the midnight gray that we see on the Model 3 and Model Y. Actually, the new standard color on Model 3 and Model Y since the earlier this year. Uh, Now, Molest and X getting a new color is interesting, because Tesla, as part of the big price cuts earlier this year, they made all colors standard, like or included, I should say, in the price. So there's no $2,500 markup for each color anymore. So you can choose anything, and now you have a new option on it, this stealth gray, which looks pretty cool. Like I said, reminiscent of the midnight silver, but a little bit darker, in my opinion. What do you
it
think,
looks
Seth? You
like a
like it?
little mattier or something, right? Or no?
I mean, it's so difficult to tell just from the picture, but
Right.
yeah, maybe.
I
And
I have to wonder why they did that and not like a green or a brown or
well, I
orange.
mean, maybe it's the new wraps
Right.
coming that are gonna take care of those more little out there colors like green and brown. But I mean, you need a silver, a gray, or something like that in your regular lineup. So this is nice. I mean, this picture is with the aerial wheels, but this one with the arachnids looks pretty sharp to me.
Yeah, it looks pretty good.
Hmm.
Green. I think green's the way to go.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day when they had this green in the lineup, they were like the darker, like the forest green almost. It was
Yeah.
very good. We have a slight increase in Model Y pricing this week, so that's breaking the trend. Obviously, the trend has been price decreases throughout the whole year. I mean, it had a lot of impact in the entire industry, a lot of impacts in companies. We just heard from Hertz that they just had the earnings this year and this week, and they are hurting, and primarily because of their Tesla fleet being devalued from these big price cuts. So they're going to be happy to hear that one, but not that it's a massive price increase. It's basically not even notable. We're just noting it for the fact that it is breaking the trend of the price decrease. So it's a $500 increase, and it's only on the dual motor all wheel drive long range version, which went up from 48,500 to $49,000. The price of the newly launched rear-wheel drive version is staying at $44,000, and the Model Y Performance also stays unchanged at 52,500. So a lot of speculation around that. Obviously, if Tesla is staying true to its strategy while it was decreasing prices, the argument was that they are keeping track of orders very closely, keeping track of production capacity, and they want both of them to match, obviously. And when demand was not matching production, they would rely on price decreases to remedy that. Now, shareholders lately have been pushing for finding new solution to price decreases, because Tesla went from uh, incredible like 20+% gross margin to now in the high teens, and it's still a very good gross margin for the industry, but it's not what the investors have been accustomed to. And there is an argument to be made that with a small budget per car, but would create a pretty big budget for Tesla overall, just because of the size of the fleet. or the production rate, I should say, that they could have an impactful advertising budget that could compensate for the discrepancy in demand versus production without having to decrease prices. Now, Elon seems to be a little more skeptical about that, saying that they see some potential impact, but they haven't exactly figured out how to do that larger scale just yet. So that might be an early sign that things are working for the Model Y on these front, because I know that the ads have been very targeted in specific areas, and especially around incentives. So wherever they are incentive, they're like, yeah, if you get that incentive, that car is actually pretty cheap. So then it's that kind of advertising, really, not the like Super Bowl ad type of thing that most people think about when they think car advertising.
I mean, why even do a $500 increase? Like, is that going to
I,
sell?
I think I think it is a signal that they're sending. Like I think they're just, hey, we're
We're
doing,
done.
because like, the stock took a big hit over the last week. Like since the
Right.
earnings, it took a big nosedive. So I think I don't know what the stock did today. I think this morning when I went to sleep this morning, it was still pre-market. So
It was
it,
pretty
it was
close
up
to even.
pre-market.
I think it
What
was
did it
close
do
to even.
today? I can I don't hear you super well, Seth, right now. I have to say,
Oh, maybe I'll turn it up.
yeah, if you can turn it up a little bit.
It's up. Looks like 2 points. No, 1.5 points.
Hmm.
So not very much.
Yeah, not very much. Um, by the way, if you guys can let us know in the live comments if the audio is okay and everything on your side, that would be nice. I'm just on because it's since I'm on my travel setup, I don't know if I'm just the one that's not hearing set correctly or if it's
Yeah, you
everyone.
sound pretty good.
Okay, perfect, perfect. All right, this is a very interesting one this week. That I think that was just yesterday. My days are very confusing. My days these with the 13-hour time difference, but Tesla and BP announced a deal that is a first of its kind, where Tesla is selling $100 million worth of supercharger hardware to BP. BP is obviously the giant petroleum company, British Petroleum. Um, so this is a deal where BP is buying the actual supercharger chargers, the stall, and everything. But apparently, the stalls are going to be a little bit modified, like you can see here. It's the same shape as the new V4 superchargers, but with a BP logo on it, BP Pulse exactly. And they're gonna deploy that at their location in North America. So BP, I don't think BP has like BP branded location like they do elsewhere, but in America they are on their travel centers for America, Thorntons.
No, there's BP stations.
There's BP station. Okay, cool. AMPM and Hamco,
Yeah, those
and the
are all like
new. Those
those
are
are
all
all
gas
former
stations, right?
Standard Oil things. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have these new charging giga hub sites that they are deploying in some big cities also, as well as Hertz location. Why would BP
For
deploy?
charging Teslas. I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess Hertz could do that if they wanted. I don't know.
Yeah, why not?
And the first
Just go
installation are
direct to
coming
Tesla.
to Houston, Phoenix, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Washington D.C. So this is almost completely new. I don't say it's completely new just because of I remember back in the day. So I don't know if you remember. This is like 2015, 2016, the early day of supercharger deployments. Tesla for a time was selling superchargers to private owners for a while.
Right.
There was a few stations that were deployed. I remember one in Sweden, for example, and some of them in Jordan for a while, where companies could buy them, deploy them themselves. It's just Tesla hardware, Tesla branded. Uh, they would not necessarily appear in the Tesla's network, just depending on what the owners wanted to do with them. If it was like for a private fleet or whatever,
Yeah, I
or
think they're mostly
if
fleets.
yeah, or if it was some of them actually. I think I remember a few that were actually included in the network just because they allowed people to use it. But that was so early days, and probably not the case anymore. Like you don't want to operate a free supercharger station
Not
these
these
days.
days, no.
That would be a money losing operation. But yeah, so this is not the first time that Tesla has sold supercharger hardware to a third party, but it's the first time at this scale and for the specific purpose of creating their own charging network. So this is Tesla competing with companies like ABB, Tritium, and all these other charging hardware manufacturer. So these are suppliers of like Electrify America, for example, that they use that. So now Tesla is opening the door as like, we could be one of those. And Rebecca Tunucci, which she's basically the head of charging infrastructure at Tesla, commented on the announcement saying, "At Tesla, we are driven to enable great charging experiences for all EV owners. Selling our fast charging hardware is a new step for us and one we're looking to expand in support of our mission to accelerate the world transition to sustainable energy. We appreciate BP's partnership in this area. It's the right step toward a more sustainable future." So she seemed to confirm that this might be a new business for Tesla
Yep.
because they plan to expand it. Um, so it would be interesting to see where these things goes because yeah, I mean, we don't know like 100 million. They only said $100 million. I would have preferred if they said like the actual number of station or number of stalls, even $100 million. I would assume that it's a decent number because the thing is, we know that Tesla is extremely competitive in terms of cost of deploying their own supercharger station. Now, I'm sure they're taking a little markup when they're selling to others, but um, we even saw like we have very little data obviously on that. All the data is pretty opaque. Tesla doesn't have to say how much it costs for them to deploy a charging station. But at one point, we did have one piece of data that was very interesting in the Texas program for incentive for deploying charging station period there, where they had to disclose their cost, and at least for that program, Tesla's cost was a fifth per stall of the other big ones like the Shells, I don't remember if EA was in there, but like the charge point and all that, a fifth of the cost of deployment for the same capacity. So you can understand maybe if BP had like sent out some specs to suppliers and they came back with some offers and Tesla was among them, you can figure out that probably they went with the cheapest one and it was Tesla. So if Tesla start doing that with more um, projects, they could take over a big part of the market.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a big one for ChargePoint. ChargePoint is the one that usually OEMs out. Obviously ABB. There's a bunch of other companies that do DF. What are they called? DC fast charging.
Yeah.
Kind of a big deal. I think this is, because we know Tesla can make these at scale, as you said, at a fraction of the cost. Why would somebody buy from anybody else? Like these work with all EVs. Obviously, Tesla's network is the best. One question besides, the obvious is like, is this going to be on Tesla's app or is BP going to have a separate app? Do they work? Do they play nice with other ones? So like if BP has, some other, ABB chargers already installed, are these going to compete with those or work nicely with them?
So I would assume that what I think is going to happen personally. So this is an assumption, but as now other charging network adapt the NACs, what we're likely going to see, we're going to see another tab in the Teslas in the navigation system. Like you have the supercharger tab, you have the destination charger tab, and you have probably the non-supercharger DC chargers with NACs. I'm sure they're going to find an abbreviation to that, but this would fall under that category where you guys can go to this. You can use them without an adapter. It's just it's not within our network because it's going to be a difference in terms of like pricing and things like that, obviously. So because BP is gonna operate that, so they're gonna set their price, and it's gonna be gas station pricing, everyone.
Good times.
Yeah. We get a little bit more information about the performance, ludicrous, plaid version, whatever the new version of the performance Model 3 is going to be with the Island update. Might be sport version actually, based on this information. This information is coming from Green, friend of the publication and infamous Tesla hacker who's every now and again likes to dive deep into the code of new software updates from Tesla and find new features in there. And he found a bunch of interesting data this week and some renders that Tesla referred to as a sport version of the Model 3. And the sport version is going to feature new seats. And you see them here. Front seat. Well, the back seat are also new, but we already knew that from the island that was launched in Europe. But the front seat are it's hard to tell exactly here for people, but they are well updated here. Like I'm going to zoom in a little bit. Like you can see a lot more side supports all the way up
Yep.
near the headrest. So normally you don't have that part here. If you're watching the video version of the podcast, I'm pointing to the side support up the shoulders, basically, and also more side support at the bottom here. So this is interesting because it's not usual for Tesla to change the interior of its vehicles for a performance version or sports version or whatever. Tesla obviously normally they basically don't change anything other than the suspension and brakes, which also are going to be changed here. That was not in the green update, but we got that last week, if you remember. There was other information coming out from the parts catalog that reference upgraded suspension and brakes for ludicrous or plaid version of the Model 3. But in this case, it would be an interior update too. Also, there's the powertrain is it's not different for like in the Model S or Model 3 or Model Y from the long range version and the performance version, but normally there's just a software lock capability that is upgraded from that. So the car is generally the same. So that's why it's interesting here. Is like now the car, at least the interior of the car, would not be the same. Now we don't like this. These are details coming out of green, and we don't know how this is going to be presented to customers on the configurator level. So maybe this is actually like not. Maybe this is standard when you buy a new version of the performance Model 3, or maybe this is actually like an interior upgrade, like a sports package upgrade that you get. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. Still from green. Also in the latest update, he found another thing that was interesting. It's a congestion fee. So it seems to be building up on the state of charge limitation at some supercharger stations. So this is something that was introduced in 2019 that was itself pretty controversial at first. At least I think Tesla fixed it pretty quickly, but it's when you go to a busy supercharger and the state of charge is automatically limited to 80%. In order to shorten the charging session, because obviously the last 20% is a lot longer to achieve. So Tesla would automatically add those specific busy supercharger station, limit the state of charge at 80%. So that created a whole hop war. Like, yeah, I mean, I get what you're doing here, Tesla, but sometimes you do need to get to 100% depending on where you're going for if you're doing a road trip or anything like that. Tesla quickly adjusted back then, and what they said, what they did instead is like they didn't limit it to 80%. They automatically set the limit on your car at 80%, and then you could just go in there and increase it manually to 100%, which I think is pretty fair. It's not that big of a deal. Most people were happy with that, but now Green found that Tesla is working on something called a congestion fee, that at those supercharger stations, when they're limited to 80%, you can still get them up over 80, but they're going to charge an extra fee for it. So this is a little bit more controversial. Reading at the comment section on that article when I wrote it, it looks like some people had some interesting thoughts on it that Tesla could potentially implement. That would be nice. A lot of people were suggesting that Tesla should. Actually, I don't know exactly if Tesla knows that they can know that, but I'm sure they can figure it out. If you're local to the supercharger, you should get a congestion fee for that. But if you are, because like if you're using it just for like a regular charge, you don't need to get somewhere. It's just like you're charging for charging. But if you're not local to supercharger, example, if you're on a road trip and then you might be you're in a different circumstances with your state of charge, you shouldn't be charged this congestion fee. Interesting thought, I thought. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, I mean, I always get those 80% warnings, and it's obviously easy to move it along if you're, taking a big uh, drive or it's really cold or whatever. So I don't know. I guess. I guess it depends on what the congestion fee is. If it's a lot, um,
Well, oh yeah,
and then also, is the congestion fee more than the just staying there fee? So one reason
the
I
idle fee you're talking
yeah,
about.
the idle fee. So like, if you're eating at a diner and your supercharger's about to hit your car's about to hit 80% on a supercharger, you can dial it up to like 90 so you don't start getting idle fees, but then you'll get
Yeah,
a
I do
congestion
that.
fee. Yeah, yeah. I think most people do.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think William Mernier is probably referring to that right now in the comment section. He says we travel a lot, and that's pretty nice. There are lots of places where people just park and leave for either shopping or a meal. So yeah, if you are like the charging experience now is getting so much faster that we used to say, hey, you're gonna stop to have a meal anyway or whatnot or to stretch your leg, and by the time you're done with that, you come back, your car is fully charged. But now it's getting so fast that like you don't have time to grab lunch, and you have to move your car if you're going to get your idle fees or otherwise. So but if you charge to 100%, like those last like 10% or so long to get, it generally just gives you enough time to grab your meal. But now if you yeah, I get it from Tesla's perspective obviously too, because um from a kilowatt hour basis, you're just not delivering a lot of energy at the end of that, like
yep.
on a good period of time. Yeah.
It'd be nice if they could do like a sentry mode, like release the charger and like shoot out the charger, and then not sentry mode, but the remote control one,
Mm-hmm.
where it could
Yeah.
just let go of the charger and drive into a nearby parking spot when
Yeah.
you're
You
done
just
charging.
move the car, parking in front, and then someone else can take the place. I mean, not impossible, but yeah, you would need an update to the stalls themselves.
Yep.
All right, moving on from Tesla news, Nissan. So Nissan is actually the automaker that brought me here to the show to check out the Japan Mobility Show that was happening all week here in Tokyo, and they brought me to talk about a lot of concepts. Honestly, it was a show full of concepts. So in the headline of the podcast, I call it the EV concept galore in Japan. So that was pretty much it. They showed me a bunch of other things that honestly I'm a lot more excited about, but they say they're gonna ruin my life if if I talk about it. I have a NDA sign. I cannot say anything about what they showed me. Yes, it was a lot. So the only thing I can say is like they have a lot more than concept, but for now they're only showing concepts.
Is it
So
going to
let's
be
talk about
the Leaf Hypersport?
I cannot say anything. Said don't
Oh,
don't
okay.
don't try to get me sued here.
Okay.
Nissan unveiled the electric hypercar with insane 1 megawatt hour of power. So this is the one that they unveiled at the actual show. Everything else that was at the show we actually already talked about because they unveiled them ahead of the show. So you have actually you see one of them in the background. Um, this Juke looking actually Juke looking size Nissan, but with an extreme geometry concept on it. That's all electric too. But here, this is the Hyperforce, the Nissan Hyperforce. It's basically a showcase of a lot of future technology in that's coming to Nissan. Obviously, they didn't say anything about this being a future production car. Um, but actually, what I learned after the fact, it's not in the article because I learned it at the visit at the Nissan Advanced Technical Center. After that, and that's actually something that I can talk about. Is one of the features that is in supposedly in this car. This is obviously a prototype, but they say that it would be powered by solid state batteries, and we did have an update on solid state batteries at the Nissan Technical Center. They're talking about starting a production line in Tokyo next year in 2024 for solid state batteries, and but commercialization not until 2028. So don't hold your breath on that. But we've seen a lot of progress in solid state lately. If you, I suggest you guys, if you're interested in solid state, you should read the Scooters article this week on the QuantumScape update. Was very detailed. QuantumScape is very good at every quarter is giving a very detailed update on their progress toward conversation, and these seem to be one of the more realistic ones in terms of like timeline and all that. They're not pie in the skies type of thing. And they've been making a lot of progress too. So 2028 is not like uh, insanely aggressive timeline for Nissan here in terms of achieving a solid state, a commercialization of solid state. But they have a few of their concept, like they're like type of preparing for different uh, user experience inside the vehicle based on driving mode. So you have a touring mode and a racing mode, and the entire user interface inside the car changes between that. They're Nissan is working a lot on what's going to happen when cars are autonomous and the use of VR inside the car, use of AR inside the cars, and things like that. So you see that in this concept here.
That's pretty
Um,
crazy. Should we do our read real quick?
oh yeah, do we have a read this week? I didn't know.
Yep.
Sorry.
No worries. Today's episode is sponsored by Is In Wheel, a smart e-scooter and mobility brand celebrating 5 years of innovation and sustainable travel. Is In Wheel showcases its passion for making riding fun through its daily efforts, not only striving to provide an efficient commute, but also more enjoyable riding experience for all. His InWheel delivers convenient, eco-friendly, stylish, and affordable ways of transportation, including a complete lineup of e-scooters, e-skateboards, and e-bikes that fit your lifestyle, whether you are a student, a commuter, an athlete, or an outdoor enthusiast. No more hassle, just ease and fun. As mobility experts, Is In Wheel aims to offer consumers around the world a high quality range of e-scooters on the market, as well as insightful information on each of those products. With customer service teams based in the UK, EU, and US, Is-In-Wheel experts are available to help find the best mobility products that work for you. As a manufacturer, Is-In-Wheel obtains great discounts, which it then passes on to its customers in the form of lower prices and frequent sales. Take advantage of scary good deals during Is-In-Wheel's Halloween sale going on now. Learn more at Is-In-Wheel. That's ISINWHEEL.com.
Yeah, I'm looking at those prices for the Halloween sale. It actually looks pretty good prices there. You can get a
Yep.
scooter for $260. That's not bad at all.
Nope.
It's weird. Halloween is not necessarily known for like a discount time, but his wheel is taking advantage of it.
Yep. Pre Black Friday.
Hmm. All right. This another concept, but this one actually announced for production, or at least a production version is going to come. It's actually going to be the first Infiniti vehicle. So Infiniti, the fact that we've been complaining a lot about the fact that Infiniti doesn't have an electric vehicle yet, it made no sense. Nissan, the corporate company for Infiniti, parent company, however you want to call it, had EVs since 2010, and now we're 2023, and the Infiniti didn't go electric. But this is going to be the first one, the Infiniti QE, and the concept itself is absolutely stunning. It's basically they approach it as like a sculpture, like they wanted to make it like a piece of art that's not necessarily like inspired by cars, but just it can stand alone as art itself, and it shows in the like look at the back end of that car. It's pretty stunning. um and yeah, it's a full-size sedan, so that confirms that the first Infiniti Electric is going to be a full-size sedan, so it's going to compete with the Model S, the Lucid, and all these cars in the lineup. And they briefly showed a little bit to an electric SUV that's gonna be. They didn't show much pictures of it, just this quick image of an electric SUV that's gonna come after that. And this Infiniti Electric too, QE it's called right now, but I don't think that's gonna be the name of the official production version. Is gonna be built in the U.S. At the Kenton, Mississippi factory that Nissan has there. So it's they're going to be able to take advantage of the incentives. So that's going to be a real boost in Nissan's presence in North America in the EV space. They haven't released any specs or anything like that, so don't we cannot dive into that. But looks pretty sharp from the concept at the very least. Um, all right, I'm going to skip that one for now, just to talk about another concept. This one I was excited about at the show. Like again, I told you I was walking through the Japan Mobility Show Tuesday, I guess. And a lot of EVs, but a lot of them it's harder to get excited about. First of all, as a North American reporter, because a lot of them are not coming to the US, to Canada. Uh, more of them are coming to Europe. I know we have an audience in Europe too on the podcast, so you guys are going to be a little bit luckier. And also, yeah, a lot of concept vehicles, so vehicles that we're not even sure is going to make it to production. But this one apparently will. And looking at it too, it's not a super concepty car. It actually looked like it's something that's pretty close to production. Even has side mirrors. That's often a good tell if it has side mirrors or not.
That's a
It
good
has
point.
door handles. Like door windows and
It-
side mirrors are pretty good tell. And it's a comeback. It's a Prelude. So for those that
yeah,
remember the Prelude from the 80s and 90s and even 70s, yeah,
yeah,
it's
it
it
was in the
launched in,
70s.
yeah, it launched in 78, and it was a very popular car at one point, like just between the second generation in 83 and 87. So that was the peak of the Prelude. That was 300,000 units were sold. um, I think it's over 500,000 units of the Prelude were sold, which is very good for a coupe. A two-door coupe is not they're generally not a super high volume vehicle, but it was a fairly inexpensive vehicle for a sports car looking coupe, a lighter weight vehicle too. Now, obviously, this is why we haven't not seen a lot of two door coupe in EVs, because of the weight issues that comes with it. It's kind of countered what's fun about these cars. But now, with a lot of advancement in energy density in the batteries, I knew it has to come soon. I mean, we've been talking about the Miata forever now, an electric Miata. A lot of people are waiting for that. And Mazda also had a bunch of concept at the event, but nothing that was electric. Unfortunately, they had the one with the rotary engine in there. But that some people are saying that version might become an electric Miata in the future, but Mazda doesn't want to confirm anything on that, so we're not announcing anything just yet. But the Prelude, also a weird announcement from the Prelude. It was kind of in the background of the Honda presentation there. The press release that they released on it didn't have like any pictures or anything, but I grabbed a few from the floor here. It was obviously an unfinished model, like it's not a working prototype or anything like that. Like there's no interior, but it does look advanced. And the way that Toshiro Maibe, the president of Honda, announced it, he didn't even announce it as an electric vehicle per se, but you have to kind of read it between the lines. So Honda, like a few legacy automakers, especially in Japan, it's a term that's more popular in Japan. They like to use the electrified term, so they say the vehicle is electrified, which is kind of a blanket term that includes hybrids, plug-in hybrids, and battery electric vehicles. But the way he said it, he made it sound like it would be a fully electric vehicle. So this model will become the prelude for a future model which will inherit the joy of driving into the full-fledged electrified future and embody Honda's unaltered sports mindset. So full-fledged electrified. So it kind of was like a wink wink. It's going to be all electric, but we don't mention all electric because we're weird at Honda.
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah,
almost like they've been lying about electrification for so long, so that they have to say full-fledged electric
yeah,
and electrified instead of
yeah.
their typical.
Kind of with Tesla and like full self-driving. Like it's self-driving or not. Like it's not
Right.
full self-driving. Um, but yeah, and at the show, like, I was trying to talk to people and like, can you guys just confirm that it's gonna be a battery electric, all electric, and everything? It's like everything is what Mr. Toshiro said. Like, okay, like kind of have to assume that it is, but it's a bit frustrating. Another kind of hint to it would be the name actually, and I know it's a comeback of a previous car, but you have the Prologue, that is the crossover SUV that Honda is doing. That's all electric, so maybe it's kind of a naming scheme for their electric vehicles. Prologue, Prelude. I don't know.
Well, Prelude's been around for a while, but yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah, but
Prelude.
it's been out for a while too. It's been out since 2022.
Yeah, I remember those things in the '80s had that four-wheel steering. They were like the first like normal car to have it,
Oh,
and
really?
Yeah, it had there's like this ad where it made like a sharp left and then kept going straight. It was a really cool car. Back when I was like into those kind of things. That was
Hmm.
my at one point it was the car I wanted to get. So it's kind of interesting to see it come back now, looking really
Maybe
good, I'd say.
maybe it would come back as a four-wheel steering car too. It would be interesting.
Yep.
All right, now let's get into this here. Like, there's been a few announcements this week from Honda, from GM, from Ford. A lot of things that are being framed as slowdown from on the electric vehicle front. So, in terms of Honda, here they announced that they are abandoning the plan to build electric vehicles with GM. So they have this partnership with GM to build a few electric cars on the Ultium platform. Ultium built GM powertrains with Honda built cars under the Honda brand, and they confirmed that this plan has been killed now, and the they say that the level of affordability that they were trying to reach is not there, so they are giving it up, and this is one of several announcements this week on that front. So the you also have GM that announced the pushbacks of the Equinox, Silverado, GMC Sierra EV, and they give a Ultium Bolt update. So, okay, so I didn't have time to read all the articles that came out this week. I was pretty busy here in Japan, so I'm gonna discover this one um, at the same one as you guys, at the same time as you guys. Barra said that they're going to be adjustment that will make our vehicle less expensive to produce and more profitable in the future.
Yeah, they're adding LFP batteries to the Bolt.
What?
LFP batteries to the Bolt,
Okay, okay, that's nice.
which is good for price, not necessarily good for performance, but it's a Bolt. Not trying to build the Corvette.
Yeah. So she said they are moderating the acceleration. That's such a weird word. Moderating the acceleration. So are you accelerating or are you not accelerating? Because you're moderating the acceleration.
It's
You're
more like
decelerating.
they're regenning at this point.
Yeah, it sounds like you're decelerating. So she found a way to say that they're decelerating their EV production in North America by using the word acceleration. That's such a politician way of talking
Yeah,
in North America to protect our pricing. So protect our pricing. So same similar line as what Honda said about their plan. Adjust to slower near-term growth in demand. So again, they're blaming it on demand and implement engineering efficiency in other ways. So they said that it's going to impact the Equinox AV, Silverado AV, RST. So I think that's the first version of the Silverado that was planned, the RST, right?
no, the RST is a more like the Silverado did a fleet version first, and then the RST
Okay.
was supposed to come at the end of the year.
Okay, that was the consumer version. Okay.
Yeah.
The GMC Sierra EV. No specific mentions. She said it would be a few months. Okay. All right. So not too bad, I guess. A
Well,
few
it's
months.
already all these things have already been delayed, so it's
Yeah.
not going well.
Yeah. Sorry, and yeah, at the same time, we should have broken down those two those two news separately because it kind of like the very different type of news, the slowdown of all these EVs and the Altium. So yeah, it's just the LFP set that's new
That's
that
the
they confirmed.
only new piece. I mean, they
Okay.
said a lot of words, but none of them were like newsy type things.
And do we have a timing on the Altium made bolt?
No,
No. Okay.
they
So
said it would.
there could be a significant gap between the stop of production this year and the new version of the Bolt,
Yeah,
right?
it's going to be interesting at the beginning of 2024. What is GM going to be selling in turn like the Q1 2024? How
Might be a
many?
rough one.
Yeah, their EV. There's not going to be a lot of EVs on uh, their list, except maybe some used bolts. Like
Hmm.
at the showroom, there's not going to be a lot of electric options at Chevy dealers.
Yeah, it's weird because like even the fact that they announced that the Bolt is done, like because this almost sounds like this is going to be a new generation of the Bolt. Like the Bolt is not dead, but like they announced it like, oh, we're done, we're stopping production of the Bolt, the program is dead,
You're
and then
done.
like a few months later they're like, but we're gonna do an Ultium Bolt. Well, that's a new Bolt, so like kind of a weird way to move the program
Yeah,
for.
they said they changed their mind. One other piece
Yeah.
of information that she reiterated this time, but they said before is that because they already have a Bolt, that this is going to save 2 years of development time. So I don't know how long a typical car development takes, but
Hmm.
she said it's going to be 2 years less than a typical car
I
development. I
think
mean,
it's like on average it's like 7 years for legacy automakers, something like that.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how much gap between
Hmm.
the old Bolt and the new Bolt. Although I have to say, like the new Bolt's not going to have CarPlay or Android Auto currently. It's going to have
Yeah.
LFP batteries. Like
Mm.
I so far the old Bolt's sounding pretty good.
Yeah. All right. One of the Ultium not delayed is the Blazer EV. So this week there was a release of all the details in terms of the trims that's going to be available with the pricing accompanying to it. So um, here we have them, starting with the 2LT all-wheel drive version. Oh, you only have all? Oh no, you have one wheel drive here, but it's the most expensive one. What is that?
I think
Okay.
it's got a bigger battery.
Yeah, it does. But but hmm. No, but it has to has the same batteries as the all-wheel drive RRS, but it's more expensive. That's a weird strategy here. Okay. So if you're not, I'm going to explain to you if you're not seeing on the what I'm looking at right now. You have the 2LT all-wheel drive starting at $56,700. You get 279 miles of range EPA estimate, or actually EPA. No, I think the EPA has already been released on that.
So yeah,
And
those are
then,
the first two, and the RS rear wheel drive has not been given an EPA range or doesn't
but
have
you
the
have an
horsepower.
estimate from GM of 320 miles. They haven't
Right.
released the horsepower, which is going to be over 288 because that's the one of the base all-wheel under 288 because that's the all-wheel drive version. But they are charging a higher price of 61,790 than the uh, RS all-wheel drive, which sounds like it would have the same battery pack as
Right.
those two because it's getting 279 miles of range, and the other 320 because of the efficiency gain from being rear-wheel drive. But they are charging $1,500 more for the rear-wheel drive version than the all-wheel drive.
That's weird. We might want to check our numbers there, or
Yeah,
GM might want to
yeah,
check their numbers,
yeah. I assume that.
or car and driver, I guess.
Yeah, I see. Oh, car driver. Yeah, that. Okay, that was not official from. Okay, we'll check with Peter. Peter wrote this article. We'll check if make sure that we are on the same page because that would be very surprising to me. So yeah, it was kind of the earnings galore for automakers this week in North America. So Ford also released their numbers, and Ford is an interesting one because they split their EV business with their gasoline business to give a better insight of what's going to happen in the future. And it was a bad one this week. Apparently, a lot of bigger EV losses throughout the lineup. Obviously, the UAW strike didn't help, though the UAW strike was barely in Q3, right? I think it was like at the very end of Q3.
Yeah, and it was only 6 weeks, I think,
Yeah, I
total.
think it's going to be more impactful in Q4 actually. But yeah, so the operating losses for the EV business, the Model E, Ford Model E, $1.3 billion, so $200 million more than in Q3. Operating margins lost 75% in the quarter. It grew from 58% in Q2. So that's you're losing a lot of money on this, which makes sense because they are building extremely large factories, especially for the electric vehicles, and they're not delivering a ton of EV right now. Mackie was up 44% in terms of volume, so that's still good. But overall, they are losing $36,000 for every EV they're selling right now. And that's, I mean, the average price of their EV sell is probably around like what, 50, $60,000. So
Yeah.
it hurts. Obviously, they know because of they were making big investment, but they announced this week with their earnings that they are scaling back their EV investment right now because of how they see the market. So you've seen a lot of that this week, a lot of that from especially the Japanese automakers, but the American automakers. They are looking at demand for electric vehicles, and they're like, the demand is not there right now, so we're scaling back, which I think is a big mistake because it's not the EV sector that is scaling back. It's the entire industry that is scaling back. And yes, it's affecting the EV a little bit more because the average sticker price is a little bit more. But that's just the higher your interest rates are, on the bigger the sticker price, the bigger difference you get on your monthly payments, and your monthly payments are everything when you buy a car. So obviously, the higher sticker price market segments, including EVs, are going to be hit harder. But if you're scaling back your investment now because of that, once those interest rates come back and the demand for EVs come back even harder, because I don't think that the interest in EVs is slowing down in any way. I'm not sensing that at all from the market. It's just the ability to buy them is being reduced, but the interest to buy them is not. So what you're gonna end up here is that as soon as it comes back with the interest rate down, I mean, I'm assuming the interest rates are going down at some point here. I'm not. I don't have a crystal ball into the market here and the federal bank, but I would just like what we're seeing. We're seeing like the higher interest rate have seems to have been working right now. We've seen inflation relaxing a little bit. So if they are more hikes in rates, I think it would be relatively small, and then it would start coming back. But it's just my assumption, so don't. It's no financial advice. But assuming that that's going to happen, if you slow down your investment into the production capacity on new EVs and the supply chains and all that, you're going to be screwed, because then it's going to be the late 2010s again, where Tesla started eating everybody's lunch and owning 80% of the market in North America, because they are the only one that have the volume production capacity in battery electric vehicles.
Yep, I agree 100%. I think this is a horrible mistake by these companies that are, you know, thinking short term. They're thinking about this next quarter, then the quarter after that. They're not thinking like, hey, every car is going to be EV in a few years. We need to make EVs profitable. We get to profitability by scaling up, and not scaling up, shutting down these, or delaying these big factories is not going to make it easier.
Mhm.
They're going to have to have a couple of bad quarters no matter what, but they just got to get to the volume production. And honestly, like, this could be the death knell for a couple companies if they don't get to scale.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's a short term thinking basically. Like, they're just looking at the demand right now, and they're not looking. But not only that, I think what's the term for that? Like I'm too tired to remember that. But the term of like confirmation bias. Like you're looking for things that confirm your or pre-existing
Right.
idea on the situation. Is the
Yep.
confirmation bias? Is that, yeah? Okay. So I think it's more confirmation bias for. I don't think that applies to Ford necessarily. I think Ford is having some issues right now, especially with the UAW strike and everything. But for some of the other automakers that are maybe not super all in on battery electric vehicles, especially here in Japan, for example, and uh, they they are. It's more like we told you guys that battery electric vehicles wouldn't work. Like, and we're seeing now the demand is going down. Like they're taking that as a sign to confirm where what they already thought. So that's the bigger issue, I think, here. But sticking on Ford, they do have a tentative agreement with UAW. I don't think, unless things have changed since I went to sleep last night, they haven't signed the agreement just yet. The UAW workers haven't signed it, but they have come to an agreement with Ford, not with GM or Stellantis just yet. But the workers are coming back at Ford, so they are ending the strike preemptively, under condition that they go forward with this agreement, which is, I think, I mean, there's a bunch of things, obviously, but the big one is a 25% pay raise, and but it's gonna be a little bit more impactful than just a 25% pay raise, because it's also reduced the time drastically from the time that you start and the time you reach your top wage. I think it was 8 years before. Now I think it's 4 years. So that's a big difference. Like within 4 years, you can be a highest paid position as a worker at Ford. So that's interesting. I think Ford just released a little bit more details about it. If I remember correctly, I don't think it's in this article, unfortunately, but it looks like it's going to be a $700 to $900 increase in labor costs per car. So significant. And I think that adds up to about a little bit less than a percentage point reduction in gross margin from Ford. So it's significant for everyone to understand, because Ford doesn't have those 20% gross margin that Tesla has, so it does hurt. Um, but I'm happy for the workers. It looks like they are happy with the increase, and it's not an easy job, so you should be fairly compensated with it. I just don't want to see Ford go away as a company because of it either. So we have to, because it's not a given. It's been around for 100 years, but when an industry go into a massive shift like this electrification, and then like, and if you have to take into account here that we have like the auto industry is going to basically two massive shifts around the same time. Like the electrification shift and the autonomy shift are happening almost simultaneously. And if you somehow screw either one of them a little bit, you might be out of business. It's as simple. There's so big of a shifts in the industry that it's that simple. And and Ford is seems to be cognizant of of this, at least. Like they are one of the legacy automakers that are very aware, but doesn't mean that the execution is going to be there though.
Yep.
All right, we still have a few minutes, so I think we have a bunch of comments. If you guys have, I know I didn't say it this time, like, but if you guys have any question for us, you can jump in the comment section and put them right now. We're gonna answer them live on the podcast.
All right, Mike Boyle from YouTube says, question, I was able to get a 2023 Range Rover plug-in hybrid. Apparently very rare. I think it's a very good precursor to the all-electric Range Rover. Any idea when that will actually release? I was actually at the Range Rover plug-in event. I did a review of it. It's a nice car. The electric range is at around, I think, 50 miles. So it's not, there's a big battery in there, and of course they've done a lot of work on the aerodynamics of those things. And they said that I think 2025 model years when the electric one's going to come to the US. I think they might even have one in Europe before that, but I'm not sure. They did actually show a prototype of that at the event, so I think it's going to be sooner rather than later, and that's going to be a big competitor to probably Rivian, or I don't know, maybe Cadillac. Range Rovers are typically very high end, but they're also quite good at going off road. I think it's more of a luxury thing than an adventure thing,
Yeah.
like Rivian. But it'll be good to see those. Any thoughts on that?
No, I'm not that familiar with it. I remember when you reviewed it, but
Yeah, it was a fun review. Madrid, out in the Spanish Highlands, whatever. All right, Neil from Gold Coast, Australia. Question, comment. Maybe the slight price increase in the Model Y relates to the introduction of some new equipment into the car. Slight changes, improvements are always being made to Teslas.
yeah, but the pricing changes normally. It's more about demand than like if Tesla makes some improvements to the car that reduce costs. Normally, that goes into the gross margin if demand allows it.
All right, Carl in San Diego. Will IBP superchargers, so that means BP superchargers, will be completely off Tesla network, and who will maintain them? If it's BP, this is similar to other charge point operators who will struggle to profit from installations.
Yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about that. Like, obviously, I think it's going to be off the network. It's going to be BP's off its own network. In terms of maintenance, though, there's could be an opportunity that the deal will include maintenance, because we know, like, when Tesla sells like mega packs, for example, to companies, they do uh, oversee the maintenance of those packs. So, and it's not cheap. There's a service charge, obviously, but um, yeah, so it would be smart that Tesla to offer that, because obviously they have the experience maintaining their own superchargers, and historically they have been a lot better at that than other operators. So
And they have a global
uh,
network of repair people as well.
yeah, so it makes sense. I think it's a good move from BP. They're probably gonna have a good network in North America out of that.
All right, Andrew Higgins from LinkedIn says no other EV SE OEM can manufacture DCFC. That's a lot of acronyms at cost, quality, speed of install. There's about 75% cost advantage, soup to nuts. We did talk
Yeah,
about how
yeah,
Teslas are quite a bit
that
better.
seems accurate.
When do you think the refreshed Model 3 will be announced and delivered in the US? Do you think we'll hear about it on November 30th?
Nah, I think the Aventura was gonna be very much a Cybertruck. Oh shit, are you hearing that? I think my do not disturb just changed. Um, the the event's gonna be probably more Cybertruck focused, but yeah, I mean Elon was asked about that at the earnings last week, and he seemed very annoyed at the question. But he seemed very annoyed at a lot of questions there. So he doesn't. The Tesla wants to keep that information very close to their chest because obviously they're still selling the current version of the Model 3 in North America, and when you know that the island is coming, it's going to be especially since the island didn't come with like a price increase that much or anything like that. Like so, it's people want and it's a significant update too. So
Right.
yeah, I think I don't know. I don't have that information.
All right. How much better would Cybertruck prospects be if Elon admitted he was wrong about stainless steel and they just pivoted to mild steel instead?
Is he wrong? I don't know that
I
he's
don't know.
wrong.
What is the
Yeah,
question? Like,
yeah,
because you
Carl,
can paint it?
you're gonna have to elaborate of why he is wrong because we don't know that he is. I'm not familiar with that. We took William's questions already.
All right. Joseph Burdick, would you steer a used car buyer away from a 2013, 2015 Leaf as a commuter car as long as I take stock of range and battery cell health? They look like a good deal to me, $5,000 to $10,000 and US 30% tax credit. I would say if you live in a winter climate, keep in mind that even that 50 miles will go down to 40 or 30. So you're starting
Well,
to
they do. Joseph does mention that he's aware of the battery health situation and range. So yeah, I mean, if you're aware of that, it is a good deal. Like if you and again, we're talking about a commuter car. So as long as you're sure that you can cover your commute with this, and you're not taking road trips or anything like that, and you're probably thinking of a second car, I assume. Yeah, I mean, that's 5-10K sounds like a pretty good deal.
yeah,
And the
5 or 10K is really inexpensive.
I don't know what he said when he means about a 30% tax. Oh, is the used car credit? I think it's $4,500, but it's capped at 30% of the price. Is
Something
that what he
like
said?
that. Yeah,
Okay,
that's what I was
yeah,
thinking as well.
yeah.
All right. Farfolomew says, question: legacy automaker stocks are tanking. GM's market cap is around 37 billion. Particularly bad with the Cruise
Mm.
mess. Do you think that Tesla would ever consider purchasing one of them to accelerate EV adoption and raid their assets, for example? I mean, Tesla doesn't have tons of cash.
Yeah, it does, well, it has 26
I guess,
billion, so it's not too far from 37 billion. It could be a stock also
right.
merger, but more on it's more of a wheel thing. I don't think Tesla wants to do that. Like Tesla already bought a GM factory. When you think about it, Fremont was a GM
Nui.
Toyota factory, and they weren't happy about that. Like now Fremont is doing well, but it was very hard to switch Fremont to EV production on large scales and do it efficiently. Since then, Tesla has not done that. Like there's been plenty of factories available for sale, but Tesla has decided to build them from the ground up instead. Um, do you think it's just easier? So yeah, I don't. I think Tesla would not want to get into that and just try to take over an automaker unless the deal is like extremely good. I just don't see it happening right now.
Yeah, especially if GM isn't like in dire need of a, you know, if they were on the ropes, maybe it would make more sense.
Mhm.
All right, that's what we talked about. What was the mood like in Tokyo?
I mean, it's my first time in Japan, my first time in Tokyo, my first time at the Japan Mobility Show. It is a culture shock for sure. I mean, I knew that the Japan um, people were like it's more insular culture, like they're not super. I mean, not that they're super open to the West, but it's very different. And so it's very interesting to me because it gave me like a better idea into the Japanese automakers from that and I have like a better understanding or of the long time reticence to go electric, especially a Toyota, for example. But so yeah, what's the mood? The mood is concepts. It's they are flashing the idea of going electric, but I don't know if I see very strong like actions are better than word, and like I'm having a hard time seeing the actual actions toward mass volume electric vehicles right now, battery electric vehicles. Like Nissan has a lot of e-power stuff, which I'm not a fan of. Like I saw a ton of those over the last week, trying to push those e-power hybrids
E-power
and
E-power is the ones that have electric motors but gas generators built
yeah,
in.
exactly. It's
Ugh.
basically that, and like they show us the latest generation of those e-power engines, and I mean, I look at them, they're like I don't know, like 10% smaller than the last one. I'm like, all right, they're still like they look very complex versus a small electric motor and a battery pack. And I just don't think this is the way to go. I think this is a distraction against like electric battery electric. So I want to see I want to see legacy automakers status quo. And they're like I know you cannot stop selling your gas powered cars, which e-power is very much a gas powered car. But I think you need to stop the development of this of next generation of these things and just focus on your electric vehicles for everything else that you launch. And I don't see that from Japanese automakers right now.
Yeah. All right. Moving forward. So one person says, Vince says that it's confirmed that it seems that it is confirmed that Prelude is a hybrid, not pure EV. That must be
I
some other
haven't
report.
I've not seen that.
All right. Bike Angelus says, question: are any automakers planning to release a small pickup truck? The Wolf by Alpha Motor is so appealing, but I have my doubts whether it will come to market. Ford needs to make a Lightning Ranger. I think we saw a Toyota. Uh,
Yeah, I
obviously,
saw a Toyota at the show. I don't think it's as small of a pickup truck as Bike Angel is referring to here with the Alpha motor Wolf. That thing was extremely small, but that thing like if you be super careful, like we reported on that, like there's no doesn't seem to be any kind of significant effort behind that company, and it's just a bunch of renders. Um, but yeah, a little bit more than renders. They have like some like very early like models, but so no, I've not seen anything in that specific size, which because that I don't know the dimensions, but looking at it, it looked very small.
all right. Electron, company that makes Tesla charging accessories and chargers, and chargers for non-Tesla EVs, announced a test supercharger to CCS adapter named Vortex. Ships in January. I think it's only for cars that are NACS compatible but still have CCS. Probably 2024 models. The problem is that Tesla doesn't allow any EVs to charge at their regular superchargers, only at the ones with the Magic Dock, right? So you get
Yeah,
this adapter, and where are you going to take it?
yeah. I don't think
Uh,
that's adapters does the handshake. So I think Electron is more like preparing for something. Like they might allow it. Like it's probably going to be something that Tesla is gonna not going to be the only one manufacturing because it's open, so it's going to happen. But um, right now, like Seth said, I think Tesla still need to approve you using the supercharger.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird product. And so Electron makes a bunch of stuff. They make adapters going the other way from CCS
Mm.
to Tesla. And we got one. I tried it. It worked. It wasn't quite as fast as a normal Tesla adapter, but I called EVgo and Electrify America, and I was like, "Hey, Tesla obviously has this adapter. You're going to support that. Are you going to support this third-party Electron?" And both uh, charging networks were like, "We can't guarantee anything. Like it might work, it might not, but we're not going to guarantee it." Don't know why you would buy that in that case, because the Tesla one's available. It's a little bit more expensive, maybe, but it works at the moment, but it might not work later, and that's not something you want to kind of mess around with. The price is good though,
Mhm.
$200. So All right, moving forward, you think you'll see in the HD market a diesel hybrid before an electric only state for HD trucks to be reached? I don't know what that means exactly.
Uh,
Can
heavy
you
duty
just have
trucks.
oh yeah,
Uh,
heavy duty market, a diesel hybrid before all electric only state for HD trucks to be reached. I mean,
I don't know much about diesel hybrid. I don't know where they at in terms of development or anything. Like I've never looked into that, so I don't know. But what's the definition of a heavy duty truck exactly? Because I wouldn't be
is it a
surprised if there's
weight?
already. Huh?
Is it a weight like a
Yeah, is it like a 350, like a Ford F-350 or something like that? Is that what's a heavy duty truck?
yeah, probably. All right, moving forward, Joseph Burdick, loved the article this week. Rivian R1T makes history as the first EV to win the off-road Rebel Rally.
Oh,
I
I
believe
missed
that's
that one. That's
I
good.
believe
That's good.
that's with uh, uh, that's a rally with women only, and I think
Yeah. I know
Ri-
about Rebel Rally. It's pretty difficult rally. Um, but to be honest, I thought that the toughest part about that rally is actually the navigating. It's not necessarily the how tough it is on the vehicle. So I don't know how much of a win it is for Rivian versus the women that were driving the vehicle. But I mean, the fact that it's able to do it is still good.
yeah,
I'm not that familiar about with the rally, by the way.
and
But
if I
I,
remember
I've talked to some of the women behind it before, and apparently the navigation is the very tough part of it.
yeah, and if I remember correctly, it's Rivian employees that are racing. So
Oh,
that's
really? I thought it was journalists, but maybe not.
I think Rivian actually had two teams this year.
No, okay.
Last year was employees. All right, Daniel Lewis, where are the North American EV engineering hubs outside of California? Everywhere outside of California just seems like manufacturing.
So what engineering hubs? Well, I just talked to Nissan this week, and Nissan has an engineering hub in Nashville, I think.
Yep,
One in
they're
Nashville.
pretty
So
big in Tennessee.
yeah. What else though? Good question. I mean Texas.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess,
Tesla has a pretty big EV engineering hub in
but
Texas.
their engineering place is still in
Yeah.
California, I believe.
Yeah. Well, I think they have both now. It's like there's a lot of them in both places, but
I'm sure there's others. I can't think of
yeah.
any.
Yeah, same.
Uh,
Illinois, but I mean, Rivian has like they have some engineering at it's manufacturing. She's right, but they also have some engineering in Illinois.
yeah. All right, Carl Incendio, Elon said Cybertruck was going to be very hard ramp up to profitability. Then they dug their own grave. I assume it's the stainless steel feature that's the problem, unless it's the 4680 issue.
Okay, Carl
Uh,
is responding to. We asked him to elaborate on his previous
Clarify, yeah.
question of Elon admitted the stainless steel is the problem. I don't. You might be right. I don't know that's. I don't think it's the 4680 though. I think that's pretty clear from the latest update that Tesla's going to be fine with 4680 for now. But yeah, I don't know. That doesn't mean that the stainless steel is. Obviously, it is the novel part of the Cybertruck. So you might be right. Yeah, but I don't think he's gonna admit or like he's gonna give up on this and change to something else. I would be very surprised at this point.
All right, Jake's Online Electron's email says it will work at 20,000 superchargers. That's possible,
Yeah.
but not guaranteed. And when will it work? We don't know. And I think all the manufacturers that are going to allow that to happen are going to also provide their own adapters as well. So I still don't know what this thing is for. Stefan Schnallblegger, Jake's online question, probably not useful for a supercharger, but third-party charge point, etc., with a NAX point port. Oh, I guess that's a good point. If there's a NAX port and you want to go to CCS, but still, like, that's coming, I guess, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
All right, and one last
Good.
thing, go back to bed, Fred.
I mean,
It's
it's gonna be hard now. Like I just had a coffee and and I'm in Tokyo and this is my first day off and where I'm not actually working in Tokyo, so I can actually explore. So
go have
I
fun.
think it's gonna be hard for me to go to bed right now, but it would be smart so that I can actually like go out tonight or something. But Yeah, I'll see about that for Bartholomew. But thanks everyone for listening to this week's episode of the Electrek podcast. If you did enjoy the show, if you can give us a thumbs up, a like, whatever it is on your podcast app, it would be appreciated. If you're listening on your audio podcast on Apple charts and like that, if you can give us a 5-star review, that helps a ton. It's free to do, takes a second. I appreciate every single one of you that does it. And we're gonna see you same time